we believe is that certain bacteria in the gut produce an immune and potentially a chemical response which can alter what goes on inside the brain. And there are multiple paths that link the gut to the brain, right? But for example, recently, we've demonstrated that a certain type of bacteria, when it's ingested by a rat, can affect how that rat feels. So I can give rats depression, not depression, right? Not clinical depression, but I can make them feel extremely stressed, very nervous, and they exhibit phenotypes that we often associate with people who are depressed, such as anhedonia, i.e. they're not hedonistic. They don't like sugar. They avoid things which make them happy, right? And this is quite common, but people tend to just lie in bed and put the covers up and ignore the world. And this happens with mice and rats as well. So we can take a rat and I can reverse the anhedonia by adding this particular bacteria into the gut. I can actually make them crave sugar, for example. I can make them more responsive to other rats. I can make them more brave in the environment by altering the types of bacteria in their gut. And I can do it at a level which is equivalent to them taking an antidepressant. Right? So this is really important. If you say that I can just give you a probiotic, I can replace bacteria that are missing from your gut, that are present in healthy people's intestine, but isn't present in your intestine. I can add it back in and it will alleviate your anxiety or depression. Wouldn't you do it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I do it versus taking a chemical, which I know alters, affects how my brain's actually functioning. No, I want to do it the other way. I want to do it in a more balanced way. So we're really exploring that phenomenon, and we've shown it. Many other people have as well in numerous situations, right? We've shown we can alter the outcomes of Alzheimer's disease in animal models. We've shown we can alter depression and anxiety in animal models. We've shown that we can influence behavior, even empathy, in animal models. And doing this in humans is a lot more complex because I can control everything about those animals. I cannot control everything about humans. And so understanding how these phenomena work in people is more complicated. But I can definitely see associations between clinical depression and anxiety and changes in the gut microbiome. And that's how we identified these bacteria in the first place. We looked at, say, 500 people with clinical depression, 500 people without, and we found that the people with clinical depression were missing certain species of bacteria. So we isolated those bacteria and found that they had a good impact on mental health in animals. So now the step is to see if the same is true in humans.
Now, then we've kind of made a circle, haven't we? Because then, or we're going to make a circle, because then you're back to diet. I mean, isn't this the way we control our microbiome internally the most, is by what we eat? Or
right. Most is by what we eat, right? But also it's lifestyle. Light exercise can impact your immune system. And remember, if you impact the immune system, you're impacting the gardener, right? The immune system is the gardener. If you're keeping the gardener healthy, everything's good. So a little bit of light exercise can impact the immune system, make it healthier. Being outside more, exposing yourself, as we talked about at the very beginning, to more soil and trees and plants and, the outdoors can be beneficial because it stimulates the immune system and that keeps the gardener healthy. And then eating a healthier diet, right? Which is what we've known for many years. It's just maybe we didn't know which foods were healthy for us. Okay, fine, we're working on that piece. But generally, eating 40 plus grams of fiber a day, consuming more fermented foods like kimchi, kombucha, sauerkraut, can be yogurt, that can all be beneficial. Everything in moderation. It's all what your mum told you when you were growing up and you ignored comprehensively, right? All these things produce health. All we're figuring out is why they produce health. Right?
Did our grandmothers know some of this sort of intuitionally?
I didn't know. They didn't know the bacteria part, the microbiome part. But it's an observation that human beings have made for thousands of years, right? The Chinese knew this 2,000 years ago. They even have something currently. There's 2 or 3 FDA-approved microbiome therapies for treating a disease called Clostridioides difficile infection, C. diff infection. You may have heard of it. I know you have, but your listeners may have heard of it. So C. diff infection, we can treat with something called a fecal microbiome transplant, where we take the poop from a healthy person and we blend it up and we put it into the gastrointestinal tract of an unhealthy person, right? It works. The Chinese knew this 2,000 years ago. There's actually an old medical textbook that they had where they took the poop from a newborn baby. Now, there's a lot of stuff built into that. Why a newborn baby? What's going on, right? But like 2 or 3 day old baby, they take the poop, put it in a jar with a piece of cheesecloth, leave it outside for a day, let it ferment for a bit, and then make a person drink it. They called it yellow soup. I really, really do not recommend anyone does this because the chances of catching an infection are quite high. But in the Chinese medical textbook, it worked, right? Microbiome therapy right there. They didn't know it was bacteria. They thought it was just replenishing the body with pure poop, right? We've shown it doesn't need to be a baby's poop. It can be another adult's poop. And there's thousands and tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands that have been treated this way over the last 20 years. Right? But this points to another point. I can't bring the horse to the water and make it drink. I can get it there, but I can't make people eat the right food. I can't make people live the right lifestyle. So I need to also figure out ways of treating them without those lifestyle changes. That's the reason we're looking for better probiotics that we can clinically demonstrate actually do something like treat depression or treat obesity or treat diabetes. Look at identifying the mechanisms by which these bacteria implement that so we can see if there are little chemicals. Maybe the bacteria are pooping out something, right? A chemical that your body's absorbing and it's making you healthy. It's treating a disease or keeping your body in equilibrium. What if we can isolate that chemical and use it as a drug, right? Just the same way as we use other chemical drugs. Maybe we could do that, right? To get at the people who, due to social inequity, cannot access these kinds of medicines, cannot access healthcare, cannot access healthy food, cannot access the outside. Maybe we have to figure out better ways of bringing that environment to them. Either that or we completely overhaul society.